If you look at the CIMA syllabus carefully, why carefully? Aren't we looking at carefully? Yes, you are. But you generally look at one subject alone, or even one small area of a subject. But that's a very micro view of it, which will not helpful. For you to even understand the micro view, for you to understand one small area of a subject well, you need to know the overall picture. You can't just look at one industry in the country and take a decision about that particular industry unless you really know the overall picture as well, unless you really know the overall status of the economy as well. Similarly, for you to understand one small area of the subject, for you to understand one subject, you need to know the entire syllabus, not in greater detail, but the overall objective of the entire syllabus. So how it is structured? We have 3 levels: operational, managerial and strategic. Unless you know the difference between these 3 levels, you are not doing it right. So that's the first thing that we study when you join us. Look at it. Operational level is all about implementing the strategy. What do you need to learn to implement the strategy? So look at E1, look at P1, look at F1. Those subjects will help you just to implement the strategy. And for you to implement the strategy in E1, we try to go through the organizational structure first. You should know what kind of the structure that organization will have. Then you need to know about the finance function. You need to know about the HR function. You need to know about the IT function. So those are the things that we will teach you, or the CIMA will teach you at the operational level for E1. Look at P1. We talked about the budgeting process. Why do you need the budget? Because for you to implement the strategy at the lower level, in the implementation level, you need to have a clear budget. We look at short-term decision making. Look at F1. In F1, we talked about recording transactions, recording financials, producing financials. And we look at short-term decision making in working capital. And then we look at the taxation a little bit. All those are required for you to implement the strategy. Entire operational level is about implementing the strategy. So in that level, should you learn about change management, how you go and motivate people, how you go and change people, how you communicate? No, that's not required there. That's required at the managerial level, where the objective is to communicate the strategy that was set for the lower level and then the implementation. So if you look at change management, that needs to be there in the managerial level. And what is in the strategic level? Setting the strategy. At strategic level, you set the strategy. What strategies will you set? You set your risk management strategy, you set your financial strategy, you set your enterprise strategy. You set the strategies at the strategic level. At the managerial level, you communicate them to the next level, you influence. At the operational level, you get it implemented. Any content of the syllabus that you look at, you need to know which level it is, and you need to know what's the final objective of CIMA in teaching that particular section, that particular area in that level. Then we have 3 pillars. We have a financial pillar, we have an enterprise pillar, and then we have a performance pillar. So these 3 pillars, they have 3 specific objectives. Look at enterprise pillar and see what the objective of it is. Look at financial pillar, see what the objective of it is. Look at the performance pillar. The objective of performance pillar is to ask the basic question, is our strategy realistic? You ground the strategy and bring it to a realistic level. So now you will understand what is in the syllabus, because there are 3 pillars coming from this side, there are 3 levels coming in, and there will be a subject at each level where these 2 parties meet each other. The pillars meet with the levels, and there is a subject created. So you need to have this understanding about the overall syllabus for you to manage one small area. Risk management is not an operational activity. It's a set of activities at the strategic level. When you set your business strategy, or we call it enterprise strategy, When you set your financial strategy, so business strategy will talk about what products to manufacture, at what price to sell, where to manufacture. And the financial strategy will talk about how can we finance this investment, the new product, where we are going to invest the excess money, how we are going to pay dividends. All that will be looked in the financial strategy. So we have the enterprise strategy, business strategy, then the financial strategy. At the same time, you got to have your risk and control strategy. So this is just to say risk and control strategy is not an operational activity, it's a strategic activity that needs to be get involved at the time of setting strategy. So today our topic is to look at CMA's risk management cycle. Now in CMA's risk management cycle, I will quickly cover the key aspects today. The number one is setting RMG, risk management group. Then you need to do the risk identification, identify the risk. Then you need to evaluate the risk. Then you need to decide the risk response strategy. Then the usual things of getting it implemented, monitoring and control comes in. So let's look at the first part, risk management group. Now in an organization, why do you need to have a separate risk management group? I mean, look at it from a different perspective. Why can't sales manager look after the risk in the sales area? Why can't purchasing manager look after the risk in the purchasing area? Well, that will not really be easy. Number one, they might not have the expertise, they might not have the knowledge required to do the risk management. Number two, they may be really biased. Look at the sales manager. His target is to increase sales. If he try to look at the risk management at the same time, those two things might not really go together. So better to have a separate set of people who will really look into the area of risk management, and that set of people we can give a name, we can call them RMG, risk management group. This may be headed by CRO, the chief risk officer of the organization. That's the first part. The first part is setting up a risk management group. Risk identification is the next key step. It's an attempt, it's a conscious work that you need to do to identify the risk faced by your organization. I mean, there are many methods that you can apply, but it's basically common sense. You can do a brainstorming session, you can get the key stakeholders of the organization, have a discussion with them, argue with them, can come up with a list of risks that is faced by you. Or maybe we can do the incident evaluation. When there's an incident, you can go and see how it happened, why it happened, to see whether there are risks that can be identified. Maybe we can do a questionnaire for the staff. Let them fill it with the risks that they think are possible for the organization. Maybe we can do interviews. There will be 1,000 different ways for you to identify the risk. However, when you're trying to identify the risk, you need to be a little bit of a negative person for you to identify the risk. If you are really optimistic about things, you might not really come up with the risk faced by the organization. You need to think, oh, things can go wrong. You must be a little bit of a negative guy to say, yes, these are the possible bad things that could happen. So that's the stage of risk identification. Next step is the evaluation of the risk. When you identify the risk, there can be a list of 1,000 possible risks which you won't be able to manage. So you need to see what are the risks that with a high likelihood and high impact for the organization if that happens. Then you need to see what is the level of risk that you are willing to take, what is the level of risk that you are willing to accept as it is. That is what we know as risk appetite level. So you will have a nice diagram. One side is the impact of the risk, other one is the likelihood, and there are certain level of risk that you are willing to accept. Whatever below the risk appetite line you are willing to accept. Whatever above are the ones that you need to take decisions. Now look at the diagram, right? So you have the impact, you have the consequences, you have the level of risk that you are willing to accept, which is the risk appetite level. There's a risk above. There's one risk that you identified above. Any example? Let's say risk of bad debts. You classified it as a risk that you are not willing to accept. You classify it as a risk that is beyond your risk appetite level. So how will you bring it down? How will you pull it down? You need to pull it down. How will you do that? Two ways. You reduce the impact of the risk, you reduce the likelihood of the risk. When you reduce the impact, when you reduce the likelihood, the risk will be within the risk appetite level. So how will you reduce the likelihood of bad debts? Well, before you do sales, check the credit worthiness. Earlier you just did sales for anyone who came in on credit. But now you are checking the credit worthiness. What it will do to you? It will reduce the likelihood of having the bad debts. That's the reducing the likelihood. You need to reduce the impact. How will you reduce the impact? Well, now we give the credit for anyone, that's number one, and we give any amount that they want. If they are buying goods, they get 1 month credit. No, we need to reduce the impact. Therefore, let's say the maximum credit period given is £250,000. So what happens? The impact comes down. When you check the credit worthiness, what happens? The likelihood comes down. When you do both, the risk that was above the risk appetite level will slowly come down to be within the risk appetite level. So that's the next step of after you identify after you evaluate the risk, after you see the impact and likelihood, you need to find a way to bring it down. So that's what we call the risk evaluation. Next step is to look at the risk response strategy, or we call it risk treatment strategy. In other words, how will you respond to the risk? How will you treat the risk? That depends on after the evaluation of the risk, because at the risk evaluation level you identify which risk that you are trying to accept and what are the other risks where you are trying to take some actions. So what actions can be taken? What risk treatment strategies are available? What risk response strategies are available? Straightforward and simple. One is acceptance, which means what? There is a risk that you identified and you have decided to accept the risk as it is. Second one is avoidance. You decided to avoid the risk entirely. You are going to avoid the risk entirely. Next one would be sharing. You share the risk with someone else. Or it can be even the transfer of the risk. Or the last one, reduction. You are willing to accept the risk but at a reduced level. These are the risk response strategies available. Let's take a simple example. Let's say you are trying to manufacture a new product. Let's say you are trying to introduce a new product. It's a new product for the entire market and you are trying to do it for the first time. And you are planning to produce 100,000 pieces and put to the market and see. That's a big risk that you are trying to take. So how will you respond to the risk? Number one, acceptance. Decided to go ahead with 100,000 pieces, manufacture it, put a price and put to the market and see what happens. Acceptance. Avoidance is easy. Decided not to manufacture this new product. Reduction would be you reduce the risk and go ahead. Instead of manufacturing 100,000 pieces at the same time, you manufacture 10,000, put to the market and see how it happens. See how the market responds. That is what you call reduction, but you accept the reduced level of risk. You can share it with someone else. Why don't you form a new company, a joint venture with someone else, with another company, and this new venture will go ahead with a new product. So that is what you call your share in the risk. Or you can transfer the risk to someone else. Who will take the risk from you? Well, insurance company might take a risk from you, of course at a premium. So those are the methods where you can respond to the risk. So you need to set a risk management group, identify the risk, evaluate risk response strategy, and then you need to implement, review and control. This entire process needs to be linked to the risk management strategy of the organization. That's a quick overview of CIMA's risk management cycle. Thank you very much.